for my stand-up friends. Now it's your turn, because stand-ups are their own special breed. All right, I definitely think that they're separate from actors in a lot of ways. To be a successful stand-up, and let's be clear, I do stand-up, I do acting, I perform sketch comedy, perform long-form comedy. I've done in the US and the UK, done stand-up a lot of places. I consider myself a comedy writer, because after coming out to Los Angeles, I realized I do not have the stamina to make stand-up my lifelong career. All right, this is a hardcore lifestyle. In order to be a stand-up, what I have learned so far, my field notes from the stand-ups I've met, the ones who are actually making some money at the thing, you have to have an incredible wit, just lightning. You have to have unrelenting charisma. You just walk into a room and know how to make friends. And you have to have an unbelievable tolerance for cocaine, just like amongst the top, all right, Tony Montana levels. All right, I went and got brunch with a stand-up friend, and we started on bottomless mimosas at 1 p.m. on a Saturday. It wasn't a work day. I'm not a complete degenerate. It wasn't a work day that time. So we started on bottomless mimosas at 1 p.m. All right, we were drinking wine on her couch by 4 o'clock. And then by 6 o'clock, she had Coke for dinner and I had a nap. And then by the time I woke up, at some point I was trundled into an Uber. At this point, I am just floating along with this evening. I am not aware enough to make any choices about where I'm going. But she's handling all of this perfectly well. And I was trundled into an Uber to a theater where we went and we were watching some improv. And then she got up and did a set. She went up and did a stand-up set. At this point, it was probably 11 hours of solid drinking and goofiness and partying later. And she rocked it. She rocked her set. And that is a warrior right there. That is some stamina. I was impressed. I don't know how good a judge I was, though, because I did try to swim through the lobby because everything looked like it was underwater. So I was definitely a little out of it. But if memory serves, she did a fantastic job on her set. And that level of party seems to be a requirement for being a stand-up, because all of your gigs are going to be late night at clubs. That's how you're going to meet people. That's how you're going to make connections in the industry. So yeah, I decided I was going to be a writer, because you know what? A writer doesn't have to do any of that. We deal with some rejection, but it's like usually over email, so you can you have time to cry to yourself and be like, I hate it, I'm quitting forever, and then get over it, and then try to write new stuff. So you do need a little bit of ego, but at least nobody's going to tell you to your face that they hate the way you look. It's more, focused on whatever. You can pretend like, well, maybe this piece of work I wrote was the bad thing. It's not just me as a human. And the other thing that I like about being a writer is you can, instead of having to do all that crazy partying, you can like sit gloomily over like one shot of whiskey for like 8 hours. And that's what I want. I want my introverted anxiety to be just completely misinterpreted as deep thoughts. Preferably Pulitzer Prize-winning thoughts. I want to look at my whiskey and have people think, damn, she's got an award brewing in her brain. Writer stereotypes and how true those are a whole, that'll be a whole different video. I'll take a video and talk about because I do, like I said, I've done a lot of comedy, but I also do a lot of freelance writing. I write short stories, I ghostwrite. So that experience and the fun people in that community will be a whole different set. I think that'll definitely deserve its own little time. And then I promise I'll make just as much fun of myself as I have made fun of my lovely actor and stand-up friends. Of course, now that I've talked about reasonably successful stand-ups, The few that I know, it's just super hard out here. So I definitely commend anyone who's able to keep pushing through and make it work out here. But I wanna talk to you about open mics. Open mics are a lot. I have had the pleasure of being subjected to some really good, like, unknown talent. But also a lot of people who will hopefully just remain anonymous. Like, it is very much hit or miss. You'll if you go to an open mic, I 100% say go. Go, though. If you've never been, go and watch people who are just starting out because they need your feedback. They need a crowd. It is so hard. I've done several open mics myself. I usually cheat and bring people I know for the audience. That has been the most effective way I've noticed. Anytime that I've done that, it has gone much smoother. You get some obvious plants in the audience, and everything goes better. But the thing with open mics is that they're usually like shoved into like the back corner of a coffee house. There's no room. People are talking. It's like people are there just to drink their coffee. Like most of the people in the building were not aware that you were suddenly going to launch into this ill-timed story about your childhood. And but I really want you to go see some people do open mics. Wherever you are in the world, I guarantee there is a stand-up open mic community. All you have to do is search open mics in my area, and just go and laugh a little bit if they've earned it. Don't laugh when they haven't earned it because they have to learn. And just so you are a little prepared for your time when you go to see an open mic, I figured I'd share with you some things you might not be expecting to hear, but that I have heard at every single open mic I have attended. I've been doing comedy at this point for like a decade. I've been to quite a few open mics, and these are some of the little treats you might hear from amateur stand-ups. Before I begin my list, I'm going to take a little sip. This is, if you ever, it's just sparkling cider. I'm not that cool. But if you ever go to any stand-up show and you see the stand-up stop and actually like take a drink of whatever liquid is on stage with them, one of two things is happening. One, they're either very confident and able to deal with silence on stage, which is hugely scary. It is a very intimidating thing to be able to just like take a second, breathe, take a drink. Or they are freaking out so much that if they don't get something in their mouth, they're about to just start screaming on stage. So one of two things is happening when someone takes a break. I'll leave you to guess which one I'm on. Quarantine's also like, anytime I have to talk to people now, my throat starts to get scratchy because it's like out of work as a quarantine. So, these are some things that I have heard at open mics. Inevitably, there will be at least 2 to 3 young gentlemen who will walk up and say, "So I was banging this hot girl." And it's like, no, you weren't. You just weren't. And even if you were, you should be thanking her and not trying to turn it into a bit. Just thank her. Just thank the young lady and don't try to turn her into comedy. And also, no, you weren't. Another thing people often do is they'll just talk about, so I was high off my ass. And you're like, oh, okay, maybe we're going to get an interesting bit about open-minded drug use. And then it just turns into, I'm banging this hot girl. Dang it. You were so close. You were so close to an actual joke instead of making up a brag. The other one you get a lot, and this one I believe, is, so I've been single for almost 6 years now. I know, shocking, right? Oh, and nobody ever laughs, because it's like, I see you're trying to do the self-deprecating humor thing. That's a long-ass time. Just, like, yeah, you've been completely single? Like, you've at least been dating, right? Like, that's a long-ass time. And I think that you would probably have an easier time finding a significant other if you didn't advertise your unlikability at open mics every Tuesday. Another one I've heard, way more than I wish I had, is the opening, I'm not saying I'm a pedophile, but... It's like, no, yeah, just don't say it. You just don't need to say it, and whatever the bit is that follows that, didn't need to be heard by anyone ever. Didn't need any of that. Nope, just scratch it. Can we just, like... Unless... No, I can't even... I'm trying to find, like, what is the restriction around pedophilia jokes, and I can't even find, like a... If you fit these qualities, you can make pedophilia jokes, and they'll be fun. I don't know. Maybe Jon Mulaney could somehow do it, because he's a sweetie, but I don't want to encourage that. Alright. Next one. A lot of guys like to be like, well, I've started masturbating at least 5 times a day. Oh god, this is worse than the Cinco one. Are we supposed to be impressed by your ability to withstand loneliness? Or your ability to withstand friction? Either way, I didn't need this, and there's usually not an actual joke to follow this. So, if you are an amateur stand-up, or even a fairly experienced stand-up, and you don't have something new to say about jerking it, don't say anything at all. Another one that pops up a lot. Did your dad not beat you? Mine did. Alright. Because there's a lot of child abuse going on in various ways in stand-up open mics, and it's like, bruh, I know people joke about comedy being therapy for people who can't afford therapists, but you're really only going to have a couple of things happen from making this joke. Either your audience had, like, good childhoods, and they're not going to be able to relate, and they're just going to feel uncomfortable and, like, bad for you. Or they can relate, and the situation's probably not funny for them, and now you've just triggered them. So I know a lot of comedians work really hard to kind of straddle that line between catharsis and unnecessary bullshit. And I think just bringing up your childhood trauma is maybe not over here. That's the other thing we definitely need more of in stand-up. Trigger warnings, even at an open mic. It doesn't hurt. Just prep people. They'll enjoy your set more. It's not like stand-up is not the time for your big reveal of it. Like, suspense is not one of the elements of stand-up. Like, if you just let people know you're going to have some aggressive content, they'll probably enjoy it more. Anyway, there's my latest little rant. I like to fit in at least one little rant. Also, heard this one a lot from bearded guys who are doing stand-up routines. I don't wash my beard. I like it au naturel. Oh god, why? Okay, one of the sexiest things about a guy is his sense of humor. So why do all open mic stand-up guys take it as an opportunity to highlight exactly what about them is the most repulsive? It just makes everybody squirm. Like, at least we don't need to know your hygiene habits. We don't need to know any of this. We don't need it. Just pretend, make up a persona who washes his beard. The other one that you will hear every single open mic, without a doubt, is at the end of a bit that particularly doesn't land, or people kind of like, when they're done saying it, they'll go, so that joke didn't land? Good to know. Now, you'll hear this after like 85% of jokes, but this is actually a really, really good one because this means that they're learning, they're understanding the audience. It's a sign of growth, and it's a sign that you're helping them workshop. So the thing about open mics and stand-up is, and why I have so much respect for stand-ups, and really for the people who go full out and do open mics, is because so much of it has to be workshopped in the wild. you have to take it to people and try it. Like, if I write something, then I can have people kind of read it. I can read it myself. I can revise it. But you don't know if a stand-up joke is really going to land until you've tried it in front of people. So much respect for my stand-up people. Can't wait until we can all go out and do open mics together. And much love to all of my Los Angeles peeps. And I'll see you guys. My next post will be on Thursday. Do them every Tuesday and Thursday. Catch me on Facebook, Twitter, etc. Love to hear your thoughts about comedy. And catch you next time.